waste your time. So I spent a long time in the military and everything was all right. Good morning, or good afternoon, actually. My name is Sean McCormack. I'm the district attorney here in Cumberland County. What I want to do right now is this morning, former Newville Borough manager Fred Andrew Potzer was arraigned before Magisterial District Judge Daniel J. Friedman on charges of tampering with public records, which is a felony of the 3rd degree, access device fraud, which is a felony of the 3rd degree, the misapplication of entrusted property and property of government or financial institutions, which is a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree, and the tampering with public records or information, which is also a misdemeanor of the 2nd degree. These charges come as the result of an investigation conducted by our Criminal Investigation Division here at the District Attorney's Office. In January of 2023, the Cumberland County District Attorney's Office was notified by representatives of the Newville Borough Council and Newville Water and Sewer Authority that they had discovered irregularities in their finances. Both entities employed Fred Potzer as a manager, and he oversaw the finances of each group. Potzer had been hired in 1994 and held these positions until he became ill and unable to work in December of 2022. In Potzer's absence, the Newville Borough Council Secretary/Treasurer, Jody Hoffman, began to open incoming mail to process the bills. This had been exclusively handled in the past by Potzer. Hoffman found an electric bill for Newville Water and Sewer Authority in excess of $50,000. She brought this to the attention of the Water and Sewer Authority President, Roger Hoover, as she felt it was an exceedingly high bill. This triggered a review of both Borough of Newville finances and the Water and Sewer Authority finances. The review compared bank accounts to treasurer reports that had been prepared and submitted by Potzer. The comparison found the reports did not accurately represent the bank balances in either account. Hoover found that the Water and Sewer Authority funds had been used to purchase a police vehicle. And he also observed several loan payments that had been made. Hoover advised that the Borough of Newville and the Water and Sewer Authority were separate entities, and the monies were to be kept separate. That is, the monies were not to be spent across the two different entities. Both Newville Borough Council and the Newville Water and Sewer Authority cooperated with the investigation. During the course of this investigation, over 40 banker boxes of financial records and borough records were turned over to our Criminal Investigation Division. As part of this investigation, our Criminal Investigation Division contracted with Boyer and Ritter to perform a forensic financial audit of those records. The results of that audit and our criminal investigation lead us today to file the criminal charges that I just mentioned. What we are alleging is that Potzer, through his position as borough manager, knowingly created false treasurer and fraudulent financial reports with the intent that those reports would be accepted as genuine reports by the Newville Borough Council and the Water and Sewer Authority. This was in an effort to cover up his mismanagement and misappropriation of Newville's financial funds. This investigation has found that 65 treasurer reports from December of 2017 through November of 2022 were inaccurate. It is alleged that Potzer improperly utilized Newville Water and Sewer Authority monies to pay for Newville Borough expenses. For example, he used Water and Sewer Authority funds to purchase a police vehicle for the borough. Potsker did not have the authority to spend these monies in the manner in which he was spending and was required by both the borough and authority for approval if he was to spend them this way. Both entities relied upon the fraudulent financial reports prepared by Potzer to conduct business. Now, what is not alleged here today is that Potzer appropriated any of the missing funds for his own personal benefit other than the benefit of maintaining his job as borough manager. A review of his financial records found no evidence that he took any of the money for himself. However, this does not in any way diminish the burden that his actions have placed upon the citizens in Newville and the customers of the Water and Sewer Authority. We are alleging with the filing of these charges that Potzer not only violated his duty as Newville Borough Manager, but the steps that he took to cover up his mismanagement of borough and authority funds violated the criminal laws of Pennsylvania. His actions leave both the borough and the Water and Sewer Authority in a significant financial hole, one that ultimately falls on the shoulders of the residents of Newville. Now, I have one final note, that the allegations which I have just outlined for you are just that, allegations. Mr. Potzer is presumed innocent until and unless he is proven guilty in a court of law. The next step in this process is that he must appear for a preliminary hearing. That hearing is currently scheduled for May 23rd before Magisterial District Judge John J. Hanner II. So that's the conclusion of my statement. I'll answer any questions that I can at this time. However, I do note that really I'm restricted to a lot of the things that are in the criminal complaint and really can't go outside that. Yes.
Is he out on bail right now?
He's released on his own recognizance.
$10,000 unsecured.
$10,000 unsecured bail.
Could he face jail time for these charges?
Well, any time you have charges, when we talk about felony 3, that means the maximum punishment of a felony 3 is 7 years in prison. A maximum punishment of a misdemeanor 2 is 2 years in prison. The reality as to whether he faces jail time or not, that's something that's left up to the court, and we'd have to see as these charges unfold.
And when did this start? And it was basically moving funds from the Water and Sewer Authority to pay for borough projects?
That's essentially what we're talking about. We're saying that the fraudulent records, which is what he's charged with, he would prepare treasurer reports for borough council. Those reports, those fraudulent reports, go back as far as 2017.
And how much money are we talking total, do you know?
That's still something that's being determined at this time, a few $100,000 that we're still talking about.
Is that affecting both the sewer and the borough?
Definitely. It's affected both, and as you've seen, I believe there's been a tax increase and a number of different employees that have been let go as a result of this mismanagement.
I was going to ask if there are any more repercussions or burden on taxpayers or...
Well, that's something I know that the Borough Council and the Water and Sewer Authority are both dealing with at this time and probably will be for the near future.
Did he say why he did this?
I really can't make any comments on anything that he may have said. I have to rely upon what's in the criminal complaint.
You mentioned the 40 banker boxes handed over and documents. How far back did those records go? Obviously, he was there since '94. Did the review extend back to his time when he began?
No, we went back to 2015, 2016. There's a statute of limitations, and we wanted to kind of curtail our review to a point where it would be beneficial to the investigation.
And I failed at the beginning. This is Chief John Mays. He's our Chief County Detective here in the District Attorney's Office.
When something like this happens, it's kind of almost a wake-up call where everyone in small towns might be like, oh, what if this happens to us here? I know you're kind of on the criminal end, but what are some steps that local municipalities can take to be able to pick up on this a little bit sooner and, maybe in the eyes of being preventive?
Well, I mean, this is something that myself and Chief Mays were talking about actually this morning, because you don't just see it in a situation someone works for the borough or anything like that. You see it in your local Little League funds. You see people that have embezzled funds in many different situations. Oversight is the key. Paying attention to what reports are, don't accepting things just at face value. And it's things that people need to follow through with.
And he was overseeing both sewer and water finance?
That's my understanding.
And the borough?
Yep.
So there should be probably maybe a separation of how.
Those things are, how municipal governments set up those things is be outside of my purview. My review of this situation is limited to, are there any laws that were broken and any criminal charges that should be filed? And that's what we've done here today. These are, I anticipate at this point in time, the only criminal charges that are going to be coming out of this situation.
Is there any, like a misappropriation of funds? It's more.
We have not found any evidence that he took funds for himself. It was a misappropriation of funds in that the authority's funds should not been used to pay for borough expenses. One of the things that I believe, for example, the payment for the police vehicle, that check was signed by members of the borough council, but the money was coming out of an account controlled by the authority. Those signers of that check, that when we have a check, I have my own checks, they have my name on it. These checks didn't differentiate actually between the authority and the borough. They just said Newville. So when you're signing those checks, he's putting it saying this is an expense for the police vehicle, knowing that the money's coming from one source, but he's having someone on the other side sign the check. So that's the kind of financial gymnastics that were occurring.
Can you just reiterate so we can get it with the mics close by?
Sure.
Why, the investigation didn't go back to 1994 when he first started that position?
Well, what we have in criminal law is the statute of limitations. So we're limited as to how far we can go back. And again, our investigation was focused on any criminal charges that might have been brought in this particular case. So we went back to, I believe you said 2015.
2015 to see the money coming in and at the start.
So from there, it was 2017 when we first see any records that were not matching with actual bank records.
What is the statute in something like this, of limitations?
Statute of limitations, I'd have to look on each particular charge. They roughly 5 years.
Can I ask a question on another incident in Carlisle regarding the sheriff's deputy?
I'm not prepared to speak about any other incidents at this time. Thank you.
Sorry to get off.
No, that's
track,
okay.
But I didn't know there was an accident involving one. I didn't know if you had a chance to look into that.
I'm aware of it, but I'm not going to make any comments about it.
We're still in our infancy at this point in such a criminal case. But I was wondering, because such a crime occurred with misappropriation, not necessarily like I'm going to take money from the borough and put it in my pocket. He wasn't putting it in his pocket. I was wondering if at this time you guys have any plans for restitution at the sentencing phase. If you want to try and advocate for maybe Mr. Potzer should be or could be, putting some money back in to help fix the situation he made.
So as this case goes through the criminal system, I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
Gotcha.
One of the things And the financial report that was conducted by Boyer and Ritter, a copy of that was also delivered to the Borough Council. And their focus was a little bit different than ours. Their focus was on the financial records and all. Our criminal investigation involved what their financial audit was, but also involved the investigation, that the interviews and all the things that we did. The determination as to the exact amount, and what, if he was to be found guilty, he would be responsible to pay back, is still need to be determined.
I have a question about the financial gymnastics that you spoke about. So just to kind of put it in more simple terms, does this essentially mean that, for example, you're talking about the police cars, was money coming for, let's say, a different department like sewer to pay for those, but the checks were being signed not from sewer, but just kind of the borough as a whole? Is that what that means?
So the Borough Council is brought a check, asked to sign the check, and told the purpose of this check is to pay for the police vehicle. What the Borough Council did not know was that checking account was from the Water and Sewer Authority account, which they did not have authority to sign those checks. So that's what I mean by the financial gymnastics. Now, that situation is backed up by the fraudulent treasurer reports and financial reports that he was preparing for both the Water and Sewer Authority and the Borough Council. So you've got different layers involved here. But again, as I stated, we don't have any proof that this was money that he was taking and putting in his own pocket. And the charges that we charged go towards really more of the cover-up than the actual moving around of the money.
You mentioned a check for a new patrol car. Was that actually bought?
Yeah, the patrol car was bought. Was that $65,000? $47,000.
I don't know if you could even answer this. This might be like speculation, but why would someone, like, if you're not even going to take the money for your own gain, is it just to kind of put money in the town or borough elsewhere for, whether that's beautification or new police cars? Is it just where those funds couldn't be spent elsewhere, so we're kind of skimming off the top? Like, essentially, why take this money if you're not even going to use it for your own personal gain?
What I would suggest is that you read the affidavit attached to the criminal complaint, and you might have some more details there. And there should be a copy there for you.
Is there any suspicion that Potzer was working with any of the members of Borough Council at the time, or borough officials, or do officials believe that he was working on his own?
What our investigation is alleging at this point in time is that he was working on his own with the different financial reports and stuff like that. Any other questions?